on the Access Podcast.
The thing that he said that really grabbed my attention was when you start to fill a void that's inside of your heart with the things of the world, you're never going to be satisfied. You're always going to be left empty.
We're here to equip and mobilize you in identity and evangelism. Enjoy the episode.
Sweet. Welcome to the Access Podcast. Today, we are doing an interview with the one and only Braam.
What's going on, Jake?
Yeah, this is a part of our Access Testimonies. And so I'm just going to be asking Brian a few questions and digging into really the purpose of our Access Testimonies are to really highlight leaders in the Access ministry and our young adult ministry, like give a glimpse into like your story, like what the Lord has done in your life. And ultimately we're here to bring glory to God. We're here to proclaim the goodness of God and how God's faithfulness is rang true in our leaders' lives. So we got Brian today.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Brian, you're a special person, man. Now, in the best way. Like, you're the special person. Like, for me, like when we went on the camping trip this past year, we went on the camping trip with UP, and I got to hear all of Brian's impersonations. And this dude does amazing impersonations. We're not going to put him on the spot today, but if you can do a good impersonation, that's just my, like, if you can say love language, it's a laugh language, you know? So if you do these impersonations, he had me rolling on that trip.
They're great. So
that's just a little something about Brian. So Brian, tell us, let's start right into your testimony. So we're just going to be asking you some questions. And so start off, like, what's been your story with the Lord, and kind of like, where did you begin? And then how did the Lord get you to the place where you're at now?
Yeah. I would say, so I was born in 2001, so I'm 20 years old.
Oh my gosh.
And, I know, I look a lot older than I actually am.
I remember when I first met you at Access, I don't know who introduced me to you.
I think Ray did. Yeah, Ray did.
And so I was like, oh, how old are you? You're like 19. I'm like, whoa, you look like you're 25. It's the beard.
Yeah, we had a running joke at Chick-fil-A that I was 30 and had 3 kids. This is really funny. So I was born in 2001. I'm 20 years old, and I grew up in the Reformed Baptist Church out in Holland. So I went to church with your wife for 7 years of my life.
Yeah, that's a funny thing about Brian.
It is really, really funny.
Yeah, Abby always talks about how she like watched you in the nursery when you were a little kid.
I would like follow her around like throughout the halls when I was a little kid. She's like my church babysitter. It was really funny. So when I found out,
be careful how you talk about my wife, okay? Just be careful.
It was interesting because my mom told me about Rez, and like she's like, Brian, Abby works there, and just like all this kind of stuff. It was interesting. But so I went to Reformed Baptist Church for 7 years of my life, and then it was an hour drive from where we were going. But that was really kind of all I knew was long drives to church, and that was kind of our life because we lived far away from everything. And so then we switched churches in I think like 2011 or 2012 to Redeemer OPC, which is in Ada. And it was an amazing church, and I grew up going there for a really long time. But so to like, part of my story is like I've always grown up in the church, and I've always been surrounded by church people and people who love the Lord. And so when I was about 10 years old is when I kind of like decided I wanted nothing to do with Christianity. And but
10? Yeah.
But I didn't actually like know that. I just lived like it. But then I told people I was a Christian if they would like ask me or something like that. And as a 10-year-old, that's kind of bold of me. But so, and 10 is when like I really.
What about that? Let's pause there. What about that do you feel like made you make that, I don't know, not decision, but what about Christianity or just church life turned you off?
Because I thought it was all these rules that I had to follow. Because it seemed to me, it was like you have to go to church twice a Sunday, and you can't do anything fun on Sundays, and you can't do anything fun during the week, and you can't live this free life that we have, like these free things that we are able to do, which is not true. I could do so much stuff throughout the week, and then I can't take a couple hours out of one day to just be at church and to worship the Lord. But as a kid, I didn't like that. I didn't like that I didn't have the freedom to do that at all.
Yeah, so how did that progress then? Like
so
past 10?
When I was 10 when I like actually fell into a lot of like temptation and struggles throughout my life, pornography being a big one. and never like told anyone about it. And it was just like always under the carpet. And I played it off like I was this perfect little kid. And so it turned into a lot of anger and frustration. And I actually ended up hating my family like a ton, and just turned into something really bad. So then when I got into high school, it just got even worse. I was trying to hook up with people in 8th grade. I got into a lot of trouble at my high school. I was suspended, I think, 5 times throughout the entirety of me being there. And so that was just, high school was a train wreck for me because I was trying to be someone I'm not, and I was only trying to do the things that I desired for myself. I was a very selfish person. I didn't care about anyone. I didn't care about what anyone thought of me. I was like, I'm getting this, I'm getting this, I'm getting this. No one's going to stand in my way. So like really took a toll on a lot.
Well, also you're like in that time you're claiming to be a Christian.
Yeah, but I'm not at all in any way, shape, or form.
But did you know you weren't, or was it more like that type of thing that like once saved, always saved, and I believe and so I'm good, or was it like?
I think it was more of like, I believe God's real, so that's enough.
Okay.
Like, that was it.
Yeah.
It was like, I believe Jesus was real. I believe he died, but after that, forget it. I wanted nothing to do with it. So I just started living like the world. I was smoking, I was drinking, I was vaping, I was watching pornography, I was trying to hook up with people, and I just completely abandoned the life that I was raised to live. And so fast forward to college, it just got even worse. I was actually on apps trying to find people to go and have sex with, and I was indulging myself in pornography, and I was smoking and drinking every weekend. Like every weekend I was drunk at college. And Ray, one of my good friends, she knew about it. And she was just like, I'm going to keep praying for you. And she told me straight up. She's just like, Brian, I don't agree with what you're doing, so I'm going to pray for you. And she did. And so then I dropped out of college because college was just not good. I made a lot of...
Well, you went right in the middle of COVID, right? So
yeah.
You were locked down for some of it.
Yeah, I was in and out of college. I think there was a month total where I was not at the campus, and I was only on campus for 3 months. So, I mean, I played football there for a little bit, didn't like it. Excuse me. My grades were terrible. I'm pretty sure at the beginning of the year, I had like A's, and then after that, I was in F's and D's. Not a very good student. I'm smart, but I just don't apply myself. So then I dropped out. I was like, forget this. I hate this school. I don't want to do this anymore. I'd rather just work and make money, because at that point I'd lost a lot of money. But I have no more college debt, which, praise the Lord, I don't. So when I came back for winter break and fall break, I still didn't decide to drop out yet. I was still like thinking about it. And so Ray had invited me to Access. And I was like, yeah, I'm really good friends with you. If I invited you to something, you'd probably go with me. So I'll do the same for you. And so you spoke that night. It was January. It was the first Access back from the COVID lockdown thing in the wintertime. So you were speaking. I don't remember a single word you said. I am not going to lie. And
thanks for making me feel good.
Yeah. I was very rude to Ray. I was very rude to all of her friends. I was like really sarcastic and just really, really mean. And her friends like noticed that, and they told Ray that afterwards. She was like, Brian is really mean. Ray's like, yeah. And they're like, we're going to pray for her. Like, they all then started praying for me after that night. And so Ray had invited me again. I was like, yeah, I would, but I work every Thursday night, so I can't. So month goes by, and it's now February, and I had gotten a new job because I wanted to move out, and Chick-fil-A just wasn't paying me enough to get an apartment. So I got a job with some family friends of ours that I used to go to church with, and I'm still working there. And that first Thursday, February 4, I remember this day because this is the day I gave my life to the Lord. February 4, it was Real Talk, Sex and God weekend, and you guys like this was the Access where you guys were talking about it, and your cousin-in-law spoke. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, Matt Schmucker.
Yeah, Matt Schmucker. He spoke, and the thing that he said that really grabbed my attention was when you start to fill a void that's inside of your heart with the things of the world, you're never going to be satisfied. You're always going to be left empty. It's only going to fill you for that like small period of time. And so then he goes on to say, the only thing that is ever going to fully satisfy your soul is the things that is Christ dying on that cross and giving your life to Jesus. And that hit me like a brick wall coming at you when it was on a train, just rammed me. And I realized I looked back on my life and I was like, I have been trying to fill a hole inside of my life that could only be filled by Jesus. And so that night I decided to give my life to the Lord, and I drove home. I was crying. I was just bawling my eyes out. I could barely like drive and see because it was like all water in my eyes, and I had to like wipe my face. It was bad, but a good bad. And so I texted my youth pastor from the church that I was attending saying, hey, I want to get baptized. Like, we need to talk like immediately. I actually never ended up talking to him about it, which is kind of funny. But then another month goes by, and I'm like kind of in this honeymoon phase, but I'm still not sure like what my next steps are what I'm supposed to do. And so the Met by Love Unity gathering comes up, and they do these baptisms, and I'm like, yeah, or I was like, yeah, I want to go, because I had gone to one before, but I was like, I don't know if I want to get baptized.
Yeah, they're a little charismatic for you.
They are. So is Rez, but not anymore. And so I go to this unity gathering, and I'm like, this is like crazy what Met by Love is and like what they're doing. And so that entire night on March 22nd of 2021, the only thing I could think about was getting baptized. That was the only thought in my head. And I was like, I think the Lord wants me to get baptized. So I talked to Ray, I talked to Kimmy, and I talked to Renee, and I was like, guys, I think I have to get baptized tonight. And of course, they were excited about it, and they were like, yeah. And so they prayed over me before I went, and actually prayed with one of the Met by Love leaders, and they prayed with me and like came into agreement with me. And then at 11:30 at night, I got baptized, and it was just insane because you're in the back of a pickup truck in a tin tub, and it's March, so it's not like warm. It's kind of cold, and it's warm water, and I'm in shorts and a long sleeve. I did not plan on getting baptized that night, and I was like, well, now I got to go home all wet. But that wasn't the thought afterwards.
That's memorable, though.
It is.
It's like you can look back on that. It's not just comfortable hot tub that you're in. It's like,
yeah. And I put it permanently on my arm. So.
Oh, you got a tattoo?
Yeah, I got the tattoo of the date on my arm.
Oh, that's awesome.
And just because for me, that was like the biggest moment in my walk with the Lord, was like making that public profession of something that happened to me on the inside. And I'm a very impatient person. And so when you preached on being patient, I was like, oh boy, he's talking to me. But Rez's next baptism was like in 2 months, and I'm like, I'm not gonna wait 2 months to do this. And so I did it at Met by Love, and I remember telling Ray like, hey, you need to record this because it's 11:30 at night. My parents are fast asleep, and so I recorded it. I left work before they actually could see me because I had to be into work early the next morning, and I emailed it to my dad, and I texted it to my mom, and I get home that night, and my mom was crying and my dad was crying when they both received it, and they just came and gave me the biggest hug they've ever given me, and they were just so proud of me. And I didn't know what to think because I grew up very traditional, Reformed Baptist. Like, you get baptized at church on Sunday, you stand in front of a podium.
You're a member in the church.
Yeah,
yep,
exactly.
It's very
like, there's
formal.
This whole process, which is okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with that.
There isn't.
But that's the way I grew up. So, it's like,
so you're saying you were a little bit afraid
what
they were going to think about you getting baptized in a tin trough.
In a tin truck
at 11:30 at night with a bunch of college students.
Yeah, exactly. And not a pastor baptizing me.
Yeah.
So, but that's not their reaction. They were just full of joy and they were so proud. And that was like sweet relief to me. And I still remember my mom like giving me the biggest hug in the world and crying. And I was like, yeah, it was so cool. It was so cool because I had the expectation that my parents were going to be really, really upset with me. And I was like, this is not going to go over well. I don't want to go home. I'm scared. I'm petrified. Like, what if they're going to make me like do it at their church? And because the church that my parents currently go to and I used to go to, they believe in the child baptism, so pedo Baptists, and they just sprinkle water. So I was like, but as someone who grew up Reformed Baptist and still believes in like the submersion baptism, I didn't want that. I wanted to be submerged underwater, not just someone sprinkles some water on me, which I don't think one is worse than the other. Just personal belief, I believe in believer's baptism. To me, it's the most biblical. But anyway, so I was like really concerned for that. Like, are they going to make me become a member at Redeemer? Like, what are they going to make me do? And like, Brian, at this point, you're 19 years old. You can make your own decisions. You can go to church where you want. You can be baptized however you wish. But as long as it is something that you are not going to back away from or completely abandon. And so they just gave me all tons of encouragement, and they were just so happy for me, and I couldn't have been more relieved after that. And so now it has been a year since I gave my life to the Lord, which is crazy. And I'm a volunteer at Access. I'm a volunteer at Youth. I host at Access, and I'm in a relationship that would be my first relationship, which is amazing. And I look back and I'm like, I would not have even imagined me being here a year ago, like serving even at like the encounter nights. I would have never thought that I would be on my knees, on my face, worshiping Jesus, because I always thought that was the weirdest thing ever when people were raising their hands, and I'm like, you guys are insane. And my first night, Jared was like laying on his face. And I'm like, who is this guy? Like, you're insane.
Now you're this insane
Now
one.
I'm the insane
You're
one. And I'm the
insane
one who's like, I'm crazy. But I love it. I absolutely would not change a thing about the decisions that I made, or if I could, I would change the things that I did as a kid and as a teenager. But now I would not change a thing. The place that the Lord has me right now, I'm very, very happy with, and I want to keep growing with him in that. And so I want to keep growing and volunteering and keep growing with Access, because to be honest, they have been a huge support. And so have you and the friends that I've developed here, like true Christian friends, having a 242 group who meets every other Monday night, and we pray and we take communion together, and it's like my support group almost, which is crazy. And then I have an amazing girlfriend who's like also encouraging me daily, and it's just crazy to see my life transformed over the course of a year, and like looking back on that.
Dang, man.
It's kind of nuts.
It's such a, I mean, I just hear the faithfulness of God all over your story. And, you know, as growing up in the church, I resonate with that, right? It's like you grow up in the church and you it's all around you, and you kind of like try to put on the facade, and then it's like the Lord actually saves you. You know, it's like, you could say it's owning your own faith, but it's even like, I would even describe it differently than that. It's not owning my own faith. It's actually that come to Jesus moment where he saves you.
Yeah.
And because you can't, like, right? Like, we could talk about this. You can't live off your parents' faith.
No.
You can't live off your church's faith, your pastor's faith. Like, your faith has to be like something that is personal.
Yeah.
And
when your faith becomes your own.
Yeah, it's your own, but it's your faith that in Christ.
Yeah.
And dude, I love that statement that you said. You said, like, I never would have thought that my life could be as it is now. Like, I never would have thought it could be here if it was a year ago. Like, a year ago, I would have never thought I could be where you are. And I think that just attests and shows the goodness of God, that you didn't give your life to Jesus so that you would have all these nice things.
Yeah.
But once you start following Jesus and sacrificing and serving and, developing those strong friendships, like God takes you and gives you an abundant life that you would never have without him.
Yeah.
It's just so beautiful, man. Is there any other parts of your story that I don't know, that maybe you're thinking back and that you missed on that you'd want to that bring up, just that you might resonate with someone listening?
So when I actually realized I needed someone in my life, this is a huge part of my story. The weekend after my birthday, the weekend after I turned 19, was the day I hit rock bottom. I was at a college party. I was hammered, and I was walking around the hallways of my dorm saying, I'm lonely, I'm going to be alone forever, and I'm never going to have anyone that cares about me ever in my life. And I knew at that point, I was like, man, I hit rock bottom. And at that point I had no money. I had to ask my parents for gas money to get back home because I was at school in Chicago. So it's a 3.5 hour drive. And so that weekend I was like, I don't know what to do though. I was stuck, but I was like, I've hit rock bottom. I don't know where I'm going. I'm alone and I need someone. And I was like, there's always Jesus. But I was like, no. And so next weekend, it just cycled again. But I knew at that point was a turning point in my brain that I can't keep doing this. This is not, I can't. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why I dropped out of college was because every weekend I was spending $50+ on alcohol. And yeah, it would be all gone by the weekend. And staying up till 3 a.m. and seeking all these things that I was never going to get. And the Lord actually protected me from that. I actually never ended up hooking up with anyone. I never did. I never had a relationship when I was in college, never had one when I was in high school. I never went driving because everywhere we could walk for food or anything like that. And the Lord actually really protected me, but I didn't think of it that way. I just thought I was being smart or that I was being an idiot. And a couple of times I got scammed. So that was a huge turning point in my life was I hit rock bottom and I have nowhere else to go. And then when I came here, I realized I haven't hit rock bottom. I can step out of this. This hole isn't too deep. And the Lord pulled me right out, and it was just crazy. And the first 3 months of being a Christian, I was like, this kind of is hard because I want to be here now. And the Lord was just like, yeah, we're going to take this day by day. But I wanted to jump right into it. Like I told you, I'm an impatient person. So I wanted to be I wanted to get the thing rolling. I wanted to get the ball rolling. But over the summertime doing outreach and everything, that really helped my relationship grow because I was able to be surrounded by people who were passionate about Christ. And that really helped my spiritual faith. So
I love you, Brian.
I love you too, Jake. You're great.
You're
amazing.
Great, oh, nice. There's a little impersonation for me. Well, dude, thanks so much for sharing your story, dude. You shared a lot. It was raw. It was real, dude. And I hope that, this blessed you. If you were listening, you resonated with Brian's story. And if you go to Access, I know Brian, he'd love to pray and talk with anyone. And if you're not from the Grand Rapids area and you just follow us on YouTube or you listen on the podcast, just message us on Instagram and we're here to help and we're here to connect and encourage and connect with you any way possible. So Brian, thanks again for
sharing. Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, go for it.
You, to anyone out there listening, and if you're struggling or you feel alone, you're never, ever alone. Believe that, because the Lord is always right next to you, but there are always other people out there who actually do love and care for you.
That's so good.
I just didn't know that.
That's so good, man. Well, once again, thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks, Jake.
Thanks for being brave. See you guys. Hey, if you found this video helpful, go ahead and hit the like button and comment your favorite part of this video. And then do us a huge favor, go and subscribe to the channel and share this episode with a friend that you think it could help.